this is nice. Wow. It's like a beach party. There's just sand everywhere.
Yeah, exactly. Sand, dust.
Yeah. What's not to love?
Yeah.
Here.
We try not to think about how dirty we are.
Yeah.
When folks show up to camp, you give them a big, sweaty hug.
All right. And then let me check our framing and make sure that everything looks good here. But yeah, everybody, this is Dr. Josh Lively, who's curator of the museum in Price. Yeah, how would you introduce yourself to any new folks?
Yeah, so I've been working here at the Prehistoric Museum as curator since 2020. I think I started remotely September 1st. Yeah, so just about 5 years ago, and then moved out here in October of 2020.
You started remotely at first?
Yeah.
Oh, neat. I didn't know that.
Yeah, it was
During COVID.
Yeah, during COVID, and it was also we had trouble moving, so because it was COVID.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I worked remotely for a month and got out here in mid-October, something like that.
So, what are your favorite fossil groups, Josh? What do you work on?
Favorite fossil groups? Well, so those can sometimes be different than what you actually work on.
Fair.
Because you get into research on a certain group, you get in, you spend hours, days, years working on them, and you learn about all the problems, all the things you don't know, and that leads to frustrations and leads to I work on this, but do I really like these animals anymore?
Yeah.
Do I like turtles? Do I like mosasaurs? I think I do.
Okay.
I think they're still my favorites.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would say so. They're both great study systems. Whether it's turtles, I think everyone knows what turtles are because we still have them.
So. Yeah.
We still have them in the ecosystems today.
Yeah.
That's what I worked on for my master's at the University of Utah. For my PhD, though, I worked on these critters right here. Mosasaurs, which are marine reptiles. They are specifically marine lizards from the late Cretaceous, almost exclusively from the late Cretaceous, with maybe some of the earlier members being in the latest early Cretaceous, basically.
Okay, nice. Yeah.
But, yeah. So those are my...
Nice.
And I can talk about why I think they're great to work on if you want to. So.
Yeah, we might get into that. If you want to talk about it now, you certainly can. But I'm figuring that's probably going to come up as we're discussing.
Yeah, it kind of just so, and we can get into it more. But it comes down to sample size. The fact that there are thousands and thousands of turtle fossils from the Mesozoic, specifically the late Cretaceous, the time period I'm most comfortable with. And the same thing is true for mosasaurs, which is kind of a rarity for big, toothy, sexy animals.
Right, yeah.
So, you think about, however many Tyrannosaurus specimens there are. I'm sure either you or someone on the stream could probably tell me.
There's something like 60 or 70 if you include... commercial specimens.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas, mosasaurs as a group, there are literally thousands of fossils, thousands of individuals in museum collections because they are living in a depositional environment. So they're easy to preserve, just like turtles as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, for a large animal like a mosasaur, it's kind of a rarity to have that. So it's an advantage to doing science with them.
Yeah. And with turtles, I mean, they also have the advantage of having a plastron and especially a carapace that disarticulates after death oftentimes. And, like, the texture. Tell us about that on turtles.
Yeah, so turtles, and so a lot of them are aquatic, so they're living in, again, a depositional environment, whether it's a river or a lake.
So they almost come pre-buried after they die.
Yeah, they kind of come pre-buried. Some of them do fall apart, absolutely, like our soft-shell turtles fall apart. A lot of the extinct groups of turtles, some of which we can go into a little bit more, do fall apart. The group of turtles I worked on for my master's, baenid turtles, they're totally extinct, so we don't have them around today. They were kind of just generalist pond and river turtles back then. But one thing that's neat is that they have relatively determinate growth. And they reach adulthood, and their shells totally fuse up.
Right.
So not only are they living in a depositional environment, they're basically growing into a boulder.
And they're pretty resilient.
And they're already aerodynamically shaped, so you get a lot of them. And so those are really great to study. It's back to the sample size. They preserve well, and you can really start to ask biological questions about them when you have a big sample size like that.
Nice. Part of what I was trying to get at too was that the texture of their shells can be pretty diagnostic. Right?
Oh yeah. So your texture. So texture for certain groups is great, especially if you are restricted within kind of a smaller geographic area. So let's say Western North America, where I typically work. Your trianichids, your soft-shell turtles, have really distinctive pitting across the shell. They don't have scales on their shells.
Right.
So they have kind of a leathery skin covering the carapace and the plastron, the top and the bottom of the shell. And it's held together by soft tissue instead of having a bony bridge holding those parts of the shell together.
Okay.
And so...
Is that why they have those like spiky projections off the perimeter of the shell? I think trianichids have that, right?
Yeah, and that's kind of just related to that reduction in the ossification.
Gotcha.
So that if you get baby turtles that don't have their shells fully formed, you will see those same spikes. And even something like a box turtle or a red-eared slider.
Yeah.
So those are kind of like little precursors to the shell that then get covered with bone as the animal grows. Because oftentimes you'll have if somebody finds a baby turtle with there are those little rods sticking out, rods of bone sticking out. They'll say, "Oh, this is a soft-shell turtle." No, actually, when you start looking at it, it's got a smooth shell surface. No, that's just a juvenile that isn't fully ossified.
Interesting.
Fully formed shell.
I didn't know. It shows how little I know about turtles, that this is news to me. But I'm trying to get more into turtles. This is going to be a thing.
We're going to learn more about turtles.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah. No, that's really cool. That's really cool.
So, that's one group. Then you've got... this group, these two different groups that are kind of closely related to soft-shell turtles, they're sometimes lumped into a group called trianichoids, but they have much more solid shells. One called Adocus that we get in Western North America, kind of a long-ranging turtle genus.
Yeah, that's a fossil one, to be clear.
Yeah, it goes extinct well before modern times.
Yeah.
And it has what I would describe as a muted golf ball texture.
Right.
So it's got those pits.
Those dimples.
Yeah, the little dimples. They're not, deeper pits like the trianichids. They just look like, the shell smooth with just some little dimples. A lot like a golf ball. That's kind of how I describe it. And then another group, that one along with Basilemes, those groups arise in Asia. They originate over in Asia and make it into North America during the late Cretaceous.
They come across that land bridge over Alaska.
Yeah.
A while. They're turtles. But,
they
have millions of years to do it. Yeah.
But if you can walk along at half a mile per hour and eventually make it. And so Basilemes is kind of closely-ish related, and it's also got a dimpled shell, but in between the dimples, there are little tiny pyramids. With just a hand lens, you can identify, all right, do I have a trianichid?
Right.
Do I have an Adocus? Do I have a Basilemes? And then you can start to go from there.
So I've heard that specialists like Howard Hutchinson, back in like the 60s and 70s, people who specialize in turtles and are really good at identifying these textures, Howard used to get invited to all kinds of different field adventures and places because they needed a turtle person on site. Because they didn't necessarily know the age of the rocks. But if he can pick up a fragment of turtle shell and go, oh, this is an Adocus, this is Basilemes, this is whatever, you know the age of the rocks based on that one turtle fragment. So that was like, a huge advantage that he could give a field crew. Yeah. And, it was his ticket to do a lot of really cool stuff, like working up in the Arctic or... all these different things that he did. I like to use that as an example of in science, everybody wants to work on dinosaurs. People love dinosaurs. They're really charismatic. But, if you find a fragment of a dinosaur, it's not going to give you as much information as, say, a fragment of a turtle.
Exactly, yeah. Yeah, and that's why I really say when it comes to paleontology, if someone comes up to me, and this has happened a few times,
Yeah.
a student comes up to me at a conference and says, "I really like dinosaurs." I'm like, "Oh, great, kid."
Yeah.
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 Tell why. And then usually there's not a good answer. But if someone says, "Oh, I'm really interested in past environments," that's a way better answer to give if you're looking to collaborate with someone, because then you can say, "All right, what about?" And I can love understanding the changes in the biota tied to climate, or tectonic changes. Those are being question based. And realizing that sometimes dinosaurs aren't the best group to answer those questions. I think is a really great way to be.
So it's like the difference between saying, I like this because this is, it's cool, versus this is really scientifically interesting. It can help us answer important questions.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But the funny thing about Howard specifically, why you mentioned him, you go to museums where they have turtle fossils, and and within a museum collections, everyone doesn't get to see this, but there are little specimen cards in the museum that are tied to the specimen, so it has some level of information about that specimen, where it's from, how old it is, the age of the rocks, and the preliminary ID. A lot of times turtles aren't ID'd. They're like identified as turtle, testudinis, indeterminate, in the collections. But then there's a little pencil identification on the back.
Same handwriting.
In same handwriting, oh no, this is actually Compsomys, JHH. J. Howard Hutchison.
Yep.
We know. All right, Howard was here. That's his call sign.
Berkeley is full of these, by the way. Or like collector Howard Hutchinson for nearly every turtle in the collections. It's nuts. Yeah. That was my first job ever at UCMP when I first started volunteering there. I told you this. My baptism by fire was Pat Holroyd handed me like a huge box of turtle fragments from like the Green River Formation or something like that.
Okay. Yeah.
I think they were Eocene, and or maybe they were Judith. I don't know. But she's like, I want you to, paint gesso on every single one of these and write the specimen number and the locality number.
Right.
On like 10,000 turtle fragments.
That was your let's see how much this guy cares about sort of job, and everyone gets those.
And I passed with flying. So anyway. Marine reptiles. So we're going to talk. I brought two different books. These are both pretty new, and I've been trying to bone up on marine reptiles, trying to learn more about these critters, because I'm starting to work on, hopefully, leatherback turtles and some of their relatives. But so I just brought these. We can page through these if we want to, if we're talking about a particular group or something. But Josh, what is a marine reptile, and why is it not like a group?
Yeah, so a lot of different groups have gone marine. All of these reptile groups that we lump into this kind of meaningless group, marine reptiles, that originate on land. At least as far as we can tell, there aren't any that arose from aquatic animals.
So it's like the new group of marine reptiles that shows up in the fossil record, that's a fresh time that somebody's coming from land into the ocean?
Exactly.
Every single time,
That's exactly right.
Yeah, okay.
And it's happened many, many times throughout the evolution of reptiles. Many groups have gone into a marine environment, sometimes many different times. We'll get there with a couple of different groups. But,
interesting.
Whether it's, ichthyosaurs, plesiosaurs, both of those, are natural groups. So groups that are more closely related to one another than they are to anything else. And those might have one origin for one marine origin. So one plesiosaur evolutionarily decided, let's look for food in the waters. And then after that, you have this thing with big long paddles that look like whale flippers.
I'm sure we could find a picture in here somewhere.
A lot of different flavors of plesiosaurs. Short neck, long neck. They all have big flippers and short tails for the most part. So,
there's some there.
Yeah, exactly.
These are ones with relatively big heads.
Yeah, some of them, they all have long flippers. Relatively short tails. number of vertebrae, they all have relatively long necks, but some are shorter than others.
Yeah.
Some have big heads, some have small heads.
Uh-huh.
But the thing that really unites them, just at a gross anatomical scale, larger flippers and a shorter tail.
Nice.
It's one easy way to tell even the big-headed plesiosaurs from something like a mosasaur.
Uh-huh. Nice.
Yeah.
Do we have a good idea? I remember I asked Takuya Kanishi about this a while ago, and I forget his answer. Where do plesiosaurs come from? Like, what are they related to? I think it's still kind of a mystery, right?
Reptiles. They're not. They don't seem to be too closely related to any modern group.
Yeah.
Folks have thrown around the idea. Turtles, lizards. Yeah. They seem them and ichthyosaurs as well seem to branch off somewhere around the base of reptiles. So they're not more closely related to lizards, not more closely related to turtles, crocs, or anything like that. Tortoras, snakes. Any of those. They're their own kind of group, and they, we really need, honestly, more Triassic marine and marginal marine fossils, and probably even Permian marine and marginal marine fossils to really help us tell that story.
Right. Okay.
That's a long way to say I don't know. And most of us, we don't know. But they're probably fairly basal with regards to diapsid reptiles. So
one of the things that was mentioned in, I think, both of these books, and I'll show these to the camera again because Claire wanted to see them to get the titles, but there is something that I was surprised by. Apparently there's like a few researchers who are coming around to the idea that maybe a lot of these marine reptiles actually had a more recent common ancestor than we thought.
Oh,
so like
no kidding.
ichthyosaurs, plesiosaurs, even things like placodonts, I think, thalattosaurs, they might come from a fairly small group of reptiles.
Yeah, the Sauropterygian. Yeah, I mean, and that's actually a fairly traditional idea, I think.
It fell out of favor for a long time, as I understand it.
Okay, so folks are coming back to it.
Maybe.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, this could all change with another publication like tomorrow.
Yeah,
but,
I haven't looked at these books yet. Focused on my group of marine reptiles, because the others weren't really relevant to the questions I was interested in. I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, the thing, I'm kind of a phylogenetic nihilist in that I copyright actually like 2015 Joshua Lively, because the reality is folks, paleontologists will get tied to one idea, what their phylogenetic hypothesis, and
phylogenetics were evolutionary relationships, like evolutionary family tree.
I didn't know if you had introduced that at all.
I have, but we got people trickling in and out.
Oh, totally. Basically reptile family tree. Or family tree of anything.
Phylogeny.
So these folks that get tied to one phylogeny, one family tree, and said, "Oh yeah, this is correct." Every phylogeny, every family tree, by definition, is incorrect because we don't have all the fossils.
There'll always be incomplete at the very least. And
it doesn't mean that we shouldn't, run those analyses and everything. They are a very important part of figuring out where a new animal, or even, animals that have been named for 150 years, where they fit into the tree of life. But I think folks have to be realistic about, especially with certain grouts. This is the Tyrannosaur tree. All right, good luck, buddy. We'll find another one next year, and it'll be totally different.
That's a really good point. And I do wish more people would recognize that. It
requires humility that a lot of people in general, not just scientists, but people in general, really have a hard time with humility. So, doses of reality.
So I figured before we get to your mosasaurs, your babies. Maybe we'll kind of loosely do this, like go through geological time, just briefly touch on some of these different marine reptile groups, and then we'll get to the mosasaurs, who are kind of the last and, you might say, ultimate marine reptile.
Sure. I mean, they are a group that survive some turnover in the ocean and kind of get lucky and then very unlucky. And actually, I was flipping through this book, which is pretty good. This is Natalie Bardet's book, and Friends, Bardet and Friends. It actually goes through and talks about all the different groups through time.
I'll bring the camera a little closer.
Because Here's the reality. There are a lot of obscure things where...
Especially in the Triassic.
Yeah, if I start to talk about all of these, I'm going to leave out something because, especially the Triassic stuff.
Yeah.
I love to tell all my friends that work in the Triassic, they work in the basement rocks, because, it's not the Cretaceous. But yeah, the Triassic is kind of a fun time because you get a lot of these weirdos showing up, that are often tied into this Sauropterygian group.
Right. Yeah.
Whether it's the plesiosaurs or the ichthyosaurs, which kind of continue to do well, or things like placodonts, which have been tied to turtles, turtle origins. I'm flipping through here, like, okay, what am I gonna miss? There's some weirdos in the Paleozoic. We can skip over those.
Things like mesosaurs.
Yeah, and
sticking to the Mesozoic and maybe a little bit Cenozoic for today. So.
Yeah, for sure. Like nothosaurs are, definitely one of the ones. These could rise to some of these later groups, whether they're plesiosaurs or whatever. But yeah, by the end of to think of these animals as, parts of the ecosystem. By the end of the Triassic, you've got proper plesiosaurs and ichthyosaurs, which were the, primary consumers towards the top of the food chain in Mesozoic oceans for the vast majority of the Mesozoic.
Yeah.
Right up until the late Cretaceous.
Let me grab my time scale and we'll give people some visual perspective on this.
Yeah. I'm going to flip through.
So yeah, the age
I've already made it to the Jurassic, and now it's just going to be ichthyosaurs and plesiosaurs for a little while. With the exception, of course, of crocs, which... I don't know how many times crocs have gone marine.
I don't know if anybody knows that. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sure there's some croc person, if they've tuned into the stream, they're probably gonna say it's 3, which seems right.
Alexander Morrison in the chat right now, but
hey, we're all here to learn. So if anyone,
I was gonna say. Here, the colors right here are going to be useful for talking about geological time. So Paleozoic, Mesozoic, this is the age of dinosaurs and marine reptiles. And the Cenozoic is the age of mammals. And there's some marine reptiles still around in this today, even until the present. But Triassic is purple, Jurassic is blue, Cretaceous is green. It's kind of our standard color coding for that. You see that on geological maps and stuff. So the Triassic is the purple one. This is the beginning of the Mesozoic era. So the Triassic period is bookended by 2 major extinction events. At the end of the Permian, beginning of the Triassic, and then the end of the Triassic, beginning of the Jurassic. So I was talking with Richard Butler about this yesterday. Everybody always says, oh, the Triassic is so weird, all these critters are so bizarre. And I wondered, is this kind of overplayed? And he's like, no, it is incredibly weird, and it's just the age of weirdos. And that's when marine reptiles really, really get their start. Yeah. And we get things like nothosaurs, ichthyosaurs. Maybe I can show a few of those real quick.
Yeah. But, and one thing I'll say, too, about the Triassic.
Yeah.
There are weirdos. Kevin Padian had one of the best quotes about it. I'm going to misquote it. Because I don't understand Star Wars. I can barely tell the difference between Star Wars and Trek. But, I don't know. I'm going to tell the story wrong. But there's some bar scene in Star Wars.
Oh, yeah, the Mos Eisley Cantina.
Yeah, some cantina. I knew that much. I knew that word. Where, the Triassic is like that place. You walk in there, everyone looks a little funny, and everyone's going to eat you.
That's really good.
Yeah, I guess I should watch that movie to understand it, but
that's the first one too. If you're gonna start anywhere, start there.
Okay, yeah, maybe. the only one I've watched is episode 3. It's so I know how you make so I know how you make a Darth Vader, and that's it. I bet the chat's going off like, what's wrong with this guy? No, I don't care about Star Wars.
No, not yet. People are very charitable. They recognize that you're not a Star Wars scholar. You're a paleontologist.
Yeah, so. and also I was just listening to the football game.
But here's some really weird Triassic things. There's Tanystropheus, or a close relative. These incredibly bizarre long-necked guys like that. We're still trying to figure out, did they mostly hang out on land, or were they fully marine? Did they live in the ocean full time? Big old ichthyosaurs. They start off kind of long and like mosasaur shaped.
They really
Towards the
do,
beginning,
yeah.
yeah.
Kind of short necks, long heads,
Yeah,
and very long tails. And yeah, by the end of the Triassic, the cool thing about ichthyosaurs, they're whale-sized.
They're enormous.
By the end of the Triassic.
It's crazy. Like, possibly the largest things that have ever lived. Like, there are bits and pieces of some ichthyosaurs from Europe and from Nevada as well. These suckers are like, approaching like 30 meters.
Yeah, they're, and at the very least, we're not necessarily saying they're blue whale sized.
Yeah.
But, there was an idea, there is a Mosasaur and Mesozoic Marine conference that we have.
Oh, yeah?
And then a few years ago, somewhere in the, when we had it in Sweden, whatever year that was, I think it was 2016.
Yeah.
There was somebody who was posing the question, like, your big marine macro predators, whether it's mosasaurs, ichthyosaurs, sperm whales, is there a maximum size that they can get?
Is there like a ceiling for...
Yeah, is there a ceiling? And folks were thinking, 60-ish feet, which is roughly what a sperm whale is.
Yeah.
Close to those big ichthyosaurs. Maybe some of them were getting bigger. You kind of wonder. But, the largest mosasaur, probably 17-ish meters based on estimates that we have, scaling estimates.
So that's what, like 50 feet, something like that?
Between 50, 55 feet, something like that. So maybe closer to 18 meters. But yeah, so, and it was funny because it was right after that, the first Jurassic World movie came out.
With the 200-foot-long mosasaur.
Yeah, and so folks were, there was a talk that was just posing that question based on the fact that, there's this massive mosasaur in this movie, which was kind of fun. But yeah, they get big fast.
It's really wild, because right after the biggest mass extinction in Earth history, at the end of the Permian, it's like 90% of species go extinct, maybe 95, maybe higher. And, like, within what, like 5-10 million years, you have things that are whale-sized swimming around in the oceans.
Yeah. Yeah, at the very least, within 5 or 10 million years of the first ichthyosaurs getting in the ocean, they get big. But we've seen that pattern in other marine groups, too. Yeah. Reptiles as well as mammals. So things get big fast when they get in a marine.
I guess that's true.
ecosystem.
Yeah, with Perucetus, that new whale came out a couple years ago.
Yeah, I mean even Basilosaurus is over 50 feet long.
Right.
So
that's what, Eocene? That's pretty early on. So yeah. So anyway, the Triassic, really cool. Like these things, like Josh was saying, get big really fast. Ichthyosaurs. I'm hoping maybe to take you, chat, on a live stream journey through that new. Did I tell you about that? The ichthyosaurs. Yeah. So cool. But yeah, we also get things like nothosaurs right there swimming around, which are almost like proto-plesiosaurs with legs, sort of. That's kind of an old idea. Yeah. Placodonts, that's not a turtle, it's a placodont right there.
That's something different.
So yeah, just incredibly weird. And
I should say also in the Triassic, maybe a marine reptile, maybe not. Speaking of turtles, one of the oldest turtles that has at least a plastron and a partial carapace, Odontocheles, from Asia. Excuse me. It's called Odontocheles because it has teeth. So it's a very early turtle. It's preserved in at least marginal marine rocks.
Right.
So it kind of did pose the question: did turtles have a marine origin?
Which would be wild
for a little while. Until more recent ideas came out. But, we know now that's not the case. But it's possible that turtle either, was adapted for a marine environment very early on in turtle evolution, or it just got washed out to sea.
Right.
Which is also a solid possibility.
Yeah. And Claire, I see your question in the chat. We'll talk about mosasaurs when we get to the Cretaceous. So we'll get to that.
Yeah.
That's Josh's specialty. So
yeah, we'll end with that.
So yeah, all kinds of really weird, cool critters throughout the Triassic, and you start to get some of your major groups evolving. This is Shastasaurus right here, which gives you an idea for how big and bulky these ichthyosaurs get. So that is a critter that's roughly like maybe gray whale size, something like that.
Oh,
I don't know.
for sure, yeah. At least
enormous.
Sperm whale size.
Right.
Something
And
like
do you have an opinion on like the things like Ichthyotitan, these things from the UK that are rumored to be like blue whale sized, based on fragments?
Yeah.
There's this. Do you know about this with the? It's like a fragment of a denary.
Yeah, I saw a headline about it. I didn't do a deep dive into it, so I
Yeah.
can claim a little bit of ignorance. But my initial gut reaction would be, show me the evidence.
Yeah.
You know,
Because they are very fragmentary.
yeah, I mean, but you know, if it's enough to place within a phylogeny, which probably not, then you know maybe you could get an idea of, you know, the ability to scale something up. You know, scale up, say, a close living relative that's more complete.
Yeah.
You know, that would be the method that I'd go about, you know, trying to address. You know, if that's true. The thing is, things get big and can sometimes get a little
Proportions.
Yeah, and you know, realistically, even if you have a complete disarticulated skeleton, when we're talking about actual length of the animal, you know, do we know how long the intervertebral discs between each vertebra was?
Right.
And so
that adds up for credited. Like, it makes a big
for sure.
difference, yeah.
When folks ask me, you know, how long was a T-Rex? I don't know. Tell me how long its intervertebral discs were, and then we can go measure some and, you know, add them up. But so I don't know. I claim ignorance on that. But yeah, I mean, I'd be skeptical about any, you know, large predator that's eating large, say fish, sharks, whatever is swimming around. Smaller ichthyosaurs, squid. Yeah. I have a hard time believing that it would get to blue whale size.
Yeah.
Unless somebody finds one.
Because that is the question, like, what in the world are they eating? Are they filter feeding like blue whales at that point?
That would be the thing. And that's one big question in Mesozoic marine ecosystems.
Yeah.
Or it has been for a while.
Yeah.
We're starting to learn more.
Yeah.
It's where are the filter feeders?
Yeah.
There's tons of plankton. Something should be filter feeding.
Yeah.
Turns out it's probably mostly bony fish.
Yeah.
But
it's like lead ichthyes.
Ichthyes and large coelacanths in the Cretaceous. So yeah, it's you know, are there ichthyosaurs filter feeding? I wouldn't be shocked, but you know, I want to see one.
Nice, yeah. Well, cool. I guess we'll move into the Jurassic then.
Okay.
There's so many different groups that we've passed up, like thalattosaurs and placodonts and stuff like that. But like, what can you really say about them?
Yeah, and also you're starting, especially in the Jurassic. That's a great
Isn't this great?
image. Yeah, that's beautiful artwork. Is there one artist throughout that entire book?
I'm not sure actually. I've seen some Mark Whitten illustrations in here.
Yeah.
I bet you the artistic credits are in the back,
probably,
or something that. But yeah, that is really cool.
But yeah, it kind of shows you. Oh, you've got large ichthyosaurs still. You've got plesiosaurs and marine crocs.
Yeah. So we've now moved
Jurassic.
From the Triassic into the another mass extinction. So we're now here in the blue, just to give you a visual learner as I try and do this sort of thing.
Yeah. I definitely am. I learned visually and through doing. So yeah, I get that.
Yeah. So yeah, ichthyosaurs survive that extinction event. At least some groups do. Not all of them, but like they take a big hit. Like the Shastasaurids die out, and then you get ophthalmosaurids and like ichthyosaurines or whatever they call them.
Yeah.
Plesiosaurs start to really take off, and some of them were small, some of them were relatively big, some of them are still being chomped on by ichthyosaurs, probably, like you see right there. And then we get our marine crocs too, which, what do you know about Thalattosuchians? Because I know hardly anything.
Not a whole lot. I every once in a while I'll go to a talk about them at SVP. But, I know they. I know they exist.
Yeah.
And there's also there's some interesting work going on right now looking at where they fit within the crocodilian family tree.
Okay.
Crocodilomorph family tree. And I've gotten into them a little bit, less about how they're related to other crocs, but a little bit more on their form. Because if you kind of squint your eyes a little bit, there are some that look like some early mosasaurs that I worked
They really
on.
do, yeah.
Yeah.
Things like Dacosaurus and stuff like that look kind of like...
Yeah, and you know, it kind of makes you... think about these commonalities between all these different groups when they're first evolving this marine lifestyle, and will kind of help you build a broader picture about the evolutionary dynamics that are driving these patterns through time.
Right.
Ichthyosaurs, plesiosaurs, mosasaurs, whales. They're all going back to this marine.
Right.
And at some stage during their evolution,
They all
have
kinda look the same,
very
yeah.
similar appearances.
It's weird, yeah.
You know, basically the only ones that are weirdos are turtles. They do their own thing, and they just still look like turtles.
Yeah, and also that's something that I'm kind of fascinated by. Almost all of these groups of marine reptiles that we're talking about seem to develop viviparity, like giving birth to live young, including maybe our marine crocs right here too. And we had a question in the chat. What's that weird thing with all the limbs? So that's like a log with crinoids stuck to it?
Yeah, crinoids.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are. So there are still crinoids today. I know
Sea lilies.
I
yeah.
know way more about crinoids than I do thalattosaurs.
Oh, really?
Yeah, totally. And my undergrad advisor was an echinoderm.
Oh, nice.
/ 4-am specialist.
Yeah.
But yeah, they look weird. They're called sea lilies, but they're not plants. They're more closely related to sea urchins, sea stars. This group, part of a group called echinoderms.
Yeah.
Sea cucumbers are part of that group as well. So yeah, they've been around since the Paleozoic, kind of looking the same, and some of them we know during the Mesozoic because of really well-preserved fossils were attaching themselves to driftwood.
Yeah.
A lot would have been attaching themselves to the ocean floor. They do that today. But yeah.
So
they're-
they've
they're
got these
neat.
long stalks like this. I forget some of these terms. With all those columnars inside.
Yeah.
Little-
The
almost like
columnals
vertebrae,
are the individual discs within the stalk.
Yeah. And then they've got those arms with those like feathery little appendages that they kind of filter feed with.
Yeah.
So they're cool. Yeah, they're really cool.
They my a friend of mine when I was well, he's my TA when I was an undergrad. My TA for paleo. He studied the preservation, the taphonomy.
Oh,
You've
cool.
probably heard that word a few times.
Yeah.
The preservation of these things. And yeah, I learned from him that they often get chomped on before they're able to get fully preserved, because fish like to go after something called the fleshy anal sac. That is basically in between all
Sounds
those
delicious.
feathery arms. So yeah, get that on the chart. That fleshy anal sac of crinoids.
I think Automod is going to catch that before people can.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And corals are not descended from these. No, like Josh was saying, they're echinoderms, so they're related to sea urchins and stuff like that. I like to explain crinoids as like, imagine that it's like you have a sea urchin that really wants to be an anemone.
Yeah.
Sort of, yeah.
Yeah, kinda
Probably
like
not
that.
as predatory as an anemone, but
Yeah.
yeah. So they've got all those, tentacle arm things that wave around, and yeah. So anyway, and they're still around today too. Sea lilies they are living crinoids. They're not nearly as common as they used to be. They used to be all over Earth's oceans, and nowadays they're much more rare. But
Yeah, and there also are some that are called feather stars. That don't have the stalk.
and they just kind of like they move like this through the water.
Yeah, they'll move through
Yeah.
the water. Sometimes they'll attach themselves, but
okay, yeah.
yeah.
That's really neat.
My undergrad advisor Ron Lewis went to the Bahamas to start studying feather stars and their preservation, and then
cool.
realized, wow, working in the Bahamas is pretty great research wise.
gonna
So, what else can I study here? 4-ams. So
Nice.
Those little microscopic critters. So
Uh-huh. That's cool. Yeah. Oh, but before we got distracted by the crinoids, I was talking about viviparity. So
Yes.
giving birth to live young in the water. It seems like almost all marine reptile groups do that, including maybe the marine crocs. So that would
be really
reading
neat.
that, this is an animal related to modern day crocs and alligators and things. Yeah, somewhat distantly, but it's still very crocky.
Yeah.
And all of those guys lay eggs today. And all reptiles today, well, not all reptiles lay eggs.
Some snakes and
viviparous and lizards, yeah.
Lizards.
But just wild that like all of these different groups of marine reptiles seem to develop live birth in the ocean, and that what kind of advantages would that proffer for a marine organism?
Yeah, you think about advantages. You think about when you're an evolutionary biologist, you also think about selective pressures.
Yeah. Okay, yeah.
You know, if you're living in a marine environment, there are selective pressures to kind of take on those kind of common forms that we see repeated throughout evolutionary history.
Certain things, certain designs, body forms just work, so they keep showing up again and again.
Yeah, so we see that you know, kind of repeated throughout Earth history, and that often leads to things having flippers.
Yeah,
You know, things looking like dolphins, or things looking like you know, dolphins, sharks. There's a lot of convergences there, and actually, there's a spot in one of these two books that talks about those convergences. That often means that you can't really, your shoulders and your hips kind of get detached from your spine, and that means you can't hold yourself up on land.
Right.
Like you know that body form really lends itself to only marine locomotion, and that means then you know, there are selective pressures about you know, related to you know, hunting, operating within a marine environment that then preclude you from going on land, thus preclude you from nesting on land,
laying your eggs up on the beach.
So you know, very likely there's you know, that's a pressure that kind of, you know, coincides with you know, the evolution of these you know, highly marine forms, where, okay, well, we're not going to be able to walk up on the beach anymore. There's some really great old paleo art that shows these things, you know, crawling up on land, but there's no way. Not even mosasaurs. And
that's like almost a cliche in old paleo art. Is like, oh, mother plesiosaur coming up onto the beach, and here comes a huge predatory dinosaur, Allosaurus or something, to have his predatory way with her.
Exactly.
Like, you see it all over the place in these older books, and now we know that didn't happen.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
Yeah.
The ones that we know it happened because, you know, it happens today are marine turtles.
Yep,
so,
exactly.
Because, you know, there are only so many ways to evolve a turtle.
Yeah, and that's really strange. So turtles are the odd one out. They're like kind of the strangest of marine reptiles in some ways. Like, they still lay eggs after... When did the first marine turtles show up?
Well,
sometime in the Jurassic. Right?
Yeah, there are definitely some groups that extend back into the Jurassic.
Yeah.
And multiple groups we know go marine. The for the most part, southern hemisphere. I guess.
Some rain.
Yeah.
Oh shoot! Well, I'm glad we're under the solid tarp.
Yeah.
Don't have to worry about the book. Yeah.
Yeah, we're under the good tarp. But yeah, the you know, some of these marine turtle groups definitely go back into the Jurassic, but they're not necessarily related to modern sea turtles, what we would call pancolonioids, because you know, based on those, you know, family trees, the phylogenies that we produce for turtles.
Yeah.
You know, still kind of an interesting open question where some of those weirdo turtle groups go. Yeah, they might not even be related to either of the two main modern groups, pleurodires or cryptodires. But yeah, that we are fairly confident they're not related to modern sea turtles, like some of the ones that you get in the Cretaceous. Definitely are.
So I guess turtles are almost a microcosm of marine reptiles in general, where like they've become marine several times.
Exactly.
Different groups of turtles have gone into the ocean independently, done their own thing, lived, and then gone extinct.
Yeah.
Whether
the modern sea turtles have one marine origin, that's, you know, kind of an interesting question.
It is. Well, and that takes us to leatherback turtles, of course.
Yeah, of course.
The dermochelioids, dermochelioids, I guess. Yeah, do they have a separate origin? Because the consensus right now generally is that like they are allied with the rest of the sea turtles.
Yep.
All the ones with hard shells. But yeah, that could potentially change in the future with fossil evidence.
Yeah, maybe. You know, the thing is,
that's intriguing.
It is.
You good, Michael?
Hey, you watching this storm?
Not really.
Okay, it's gonna be close.
It's gonna be close.
Oh, okay. And we'll take a break right here, chat. Hang on a sec.
Yeah. You can keep chatting with them.
But yeah.
I'll figure out the trajectory of the of the storm.
Please. I think this is part of what Josh was talking about here.
Oh,
Oh, you didn't see that?
Is that coming toward us? Oh, darn. we might be becoming marine ourselves here if we get enough rain. That's
It's gonna
gonna.
be very close. Let me look on
Oh,
the
boy.
like the other day.
There's a chance we might have to wrap this up early, chat. We shall see. So, just as a quick recap from yesterday, marine reptiles they're not actually like an evolutionary group. They're a group of convenience. They're reptiles that live in the ocean. So today that's everything from, well, shoot, I think in here we've got one of those diagrams, right? Or a picture with some of those where it's
I
like,
know what you're talking about.
here's
It's
your
more of a-
modern marine reptile. There we go. Yeah,
yeah, nice.
so we've got, going clockwise from the upper left, sea snakes, sea turtles, crocodilians, and marine iguanas are our only marine reptile groups around today. But marine reptiles used to be the big thing during the Mesozoic. So
Yeah.
like every big vertebrate animal, except I guess for fishes, non-tetrapod fishes,
Yeah.
they were all marine reptiles. This is before the evolution of marine mammals and everything. So back in the day,
I can't move if you...
no, we're good. We're good. Yeah, so we went through the Triassic and the Jurassic, the rise of groups like ichthyosaurs and plesiosaurs, and yeah. But I know you're excited to talk about mosasaurs. Or
Oh,
at
yeah.
least that's your specialty
For sure.
And we've got a mosasaur on the cover of this
on the
book
cover
right here.
right there.
Yeah, they're in many ways kind of some of the most charismatic of the marine reptiles. What is a mosasaur, Josh?
Yeah, so a mosasaur is, getting into the nitty gritty, there's a great paper by Mike Caldwell that asks the question, what, if anything, is a mosasaur?
What do you mean, what, if anything? Oh, like maybe they're not a monophyletic group?
Exactly.
Oh,
he was
okay.
he was really, putting that out there, really the last couple of decades. Really, trying to figure out not only where do mosasaurs fit within the family tree of lizards. So step one, they are lizards.
Okay.
But then step two, do they form kind of a natural evolutionary group?
Right.
And
And when you say natural evolutionary group, what does that mean for the viewers at home?
so a clade. So what that means for you guys, think about cats. Cats are all more closely, everything that we consider a cat is more closely related to one another than it is to any other group.
And they all come from a common ancestor.
Exactly. And that's, so when you take that related group and chase it back through evolutionary time, including not just the modern ones, but all the fossil relatives, like you said, that one common ancestor. And with mosasaurs, we know that they're lizards. In fact, the study of mosasaurs goes all the way back to the 1700s when the first was discovered.
Cuvier.
And Cuvier, that when they found this big thing in the Netherlands, they said, what is it?
These huge jaws with these big nasty teeth.
Really huge jaws. Folks said, oh, is it a big croc? Or is it the bones of a whale? What is it? The background there, though, is that in the 1700s, there was no concept of extinction.
Right.
Even the scientific world and Christianity, to an extent, and that species were immutable.
Yeah.
Is what they would call.
Divinely created, and why would God ever let any of these things go extinct? Like the idea was blasphemous that part of God's perfect creation could ever blink out of existence.
Yeah, so long story short, the revolutionary armies of France captured this fossil and took it back to Paris. There's a whole story just behind that, but looking at the clouds, we don't have time for that. And so this guy Cuvier, who was one of the first comparative anatomists, he looked at a lot of modern skeletons and comparing and contrasting those skeletons. And so looking at this thing, he recognized, no, it's not any of those other groups. This thing is a lizard.
Right.
And a lizard that is way bigger than anything that's around today. And so that, along with a few other fossil organisms that Cuvier was working on and identifying, based on their anatomical similarities, he said, oh, there are these things that no longer exist. And so that's how the concept of extinction was born. In the grand scheme of science, really going back only to the early 1800s.
Nuts. That like in science and models of how it works for longer than we've had the concept of extinction as an accepted scientific idea. It's wild.
About the continents moving around. That's the 1960s.
Yeah.
So things that we take for granted, those of us in the geosciences, are relatively young.
Yeah.
But yeah. So with mosasaurs, the idea was that they always formed one of those natural evolutionary groups with one common ancestor. They're these big marine lizards, and the debate where they fit in within the lizard family tree has always been, and really is to this day even, depending on which research group you align with, are they more closely related to things like varanids, so monitor lizards, picture the Komodo dragon, or are they more closely related to snakes? I think one of these books has that diagram in there.
Is it here?
I think it might be the other book.
The other one? Yeah. You can pitch through if you want.
Poses. So essentially, are they, regardless, they're lizards because snakes originate from lizards. But are they, things like monitor lizards, which they do look a lot like. They look like Komodo dragons.
Komodo dragon right there in the picture, yeah. There's also a Gila monster. Is that a proposed relative of...
It's kind of a closely related group.
Yeah.
But yeah, is that where they fit in, or do they kind of fall in line more with snakes? That's the big question. And some folks, of course, will tell you, oh, there's no debate. It is this. In fact, most folks that are working on the problem of what is a mosasaur would say, oh no, my idea is right. Myself, I work on later mosasaurs. Just flipping through this book, saying, what can I show you? I work on later mosasaurs, and they tend, once they're fully aquatic, fully marine.
It's a decent mosasaurus.
Oh, yeah. Kind of give you an idea of what these look like. And you'll notice they're if you were on the stream yesterday, or if you go back and watch the video, they're pretty convergent with some of these other marine reptiles.
Right. Yeah.
Very, very dolphin-like, very toothy, but yeah, they're marine lizards. And one thing that we're learning, so there are multiple groups of mosasaurs. There are at least, or traditionally, 4 main subgroups of mosasaurs, and what's really is that the earliest 2 of those groups have very lizard-like legs. The implication there is that mosasaurs evolve an aquatic lifestyle multiple times.
Oh, boy.
Which does pose that question.
Yeah.
Are they a monophyletic? Are they a natural evolutionary group? Or are we talking about cats, dogs, bears, and pigs here? Now, I think regardless, they're probably very closely related. Maybe anguomorph lizards. But my answer when anyone ever says, oh, what do you think? I say we need more fossils to really be able to tell that story. And some of those early members of those different groups of mosasaurs, let's see, Dallosaurus I think was named 2005. Cerobosaurus, which is an early plioplatycarpine, was named out of southern Utah, and it's North America's oldest mosasaur. Just named in 2023, I think.
Shoot,
very
recently.
So very recent. So actually, that one they didn't have any limb material with it. I know it has a lizard-like limb because we found a second specimen, and it has a humerus.
Nice.
Has an upper arm.
Not described yet?
Not yet.
All right. That's exciting.
It's prepped out, and we've...
You heard it here first.
Yeah, exactly. We've CT scanned some of it, but actually, this is hearing it at first. I do have part of a humerus, but yeah, CT scan, it'd be a good student project. But yeah, so mosasaurs, and it doesn't surprise me because when you look at the mosasaur flipper, we might have a diagram in here.
There should be one in there, or maybe in here. I'll look through at the same time.
Those major groups of mosasaurs all, for lack of a better phrase, build their flipper differently. So mosasaurs were tied together because they are lizards that converge with other marine reptiles, and having a flipper
Right, let me
or
bring the camera
paddle
closer.
is what a lot of people call them. I like flippers because I watched the show Flipper when I was a little kid. They kind of. They all have the similarities with other marine reptiles and other marine organisms in general, like whales, of evolving more phalanges. So the bones in the finger, the fingers get long, form that flipper. But yeah, the different groups of mosasaurs do that in different ways.
Interesting. So all of them evolved more phalanges, so more bones within the fingers than you typically have, right?
Yeah, but then the bones more proximal to that all look a little different.
Interesting. Okay.
So they're clearly on their own evolutionary trajectories, and traditionally all the features across the skeleton. It pulls mosasaurs as they are. We're mostly using all of those highly adapted aquatic animals. You're not including all the early ones that don't look like the later ones.
Right.
So you're at the very least getting convergences potentially between those different groups of mosasaurs, which I think is one reason why they always pop out as a natural evolutionary group. But it's just wild to me to think that during, and it makes a bit of sense, right around the time the ichthyosaurs go extinct in the late Cretaceous, sea levels are at their highest.
Right.
Global temperatures are at their warmest, really any time in, complex life's history, I would argue. Multiple groups of lizards take a dive into the deep end, into the seaways, and it's a really cool thing. And so I worked on one of the main groups of mosasaurs called mosasaurines, and they were really interesting to me because unlike some of the other groups, they were all relatively diverse. We're talking by the end of the Cretaceous, probably upwards of, that we know of, maybe 30-ish, 40-ish coeval species globally. I haven't added those numbers up because new ones are getting named from Morocco every year now. But, this is what a mosasaur skull looks like. So the one group that I worked on diversified into, not just these big toothy things that eat, anything in sight in the oceans. There were specialists. There were also some generalists like Pronathodon, one that was very much a kind of a garbage can. You'll find stomach contents that include fish, turtles, other mosasaurs, and its teeth kind of look like these big railroad spikes, almost kind of reminiscent. All-purpose to just bust through anything. Kind of reminiscent of what Tyrannosaurus other tyrannosaurs.
So really thick teeth in cross-section?
Really thick.
Yeah.
Relative, a potential close relative of it. Called globidens. I think that's a globidens. It looks like one.
That's what it says, yeah.
Globidens. Has very rounded teeth.
Yeah.
And what do you find in its guts? Sure enough, shells. So things like ammonites, inoceramids, so these big clams. So they were shell specialists. And so that's one group that was hanging out. Mosasaurus and some of the early forms, early species of Mosasaurus seemed to be fish specialists. Had very recurved, sharp teeth that and fish have been found in their guts.
Are they kind of conical? Maybe even with like fluting, like you see on croc teeth?
Some of them,
cool.
especially the later ones.
Yeah.
And then you had all this diversity within this one group. And unlike other things, I know I'm sure you guys have probably talked about the debate about what dinosaur diversity is doing towards the end of the late Cretaceous.
I'm not convinced it's declining much, but yeah.
I'm not either. I think it's a sampling issue.
Yeah.
With mosasaurs, based on the sampling that we have, no doubt about it, the last second before the asteroid hits, they are at their peak diversity. Like, just all the way up. And
it's the golden age of mosasaurs right up until extinction.
Exactly, yeah. And what's wild to me, and, we won't have time to get into But there are so many, within their relatively short, maybe 30 million year evolutionary history, they go from lizards to something extremely whale-like very quick. And it really shows kind of the really interesting things to me about evolution, where you do have these convergences and drivers, that are... the selective pressures that are basically driving evolution. You might have seen in one of the photos. You can see it better actually in that one, not photo, but life reconstruction.
This one here?
The Mosasaurus. The big,
Oh, in the back, yeah.
was that one of
I think it's in the back of
my
here.
book. I don't know.
This one here?
Yeah, that one.
Like we were showing earlier?
Yeah. So, you ever look at a lizard's face? The nostrils are at the end of the snout.
Yeah.
Nostrils are up here.
Retracted,
Yeah. So you're seeing, well, essentially a lizard blowhole there.
Right. Yeah.
And they're doing it in a similar way where whales telescope their bones over one another. Mosasaurs are doing the same thing.
Interesting.
And I've seen some unpublished mosasaurs where that's very extreme, where some of the bones at the front of the snout are almost touching the back of the skull. They're at least getting close to that.
Yeah.
Which is totally different than other lizards, which have a very mobile, what we call kinetic skull. And especially if you think about snakes, being able to, eat something bigger than their face. Mosasaurs lock up their skulls from a very kinetic and that's one of their adaptations that they have.
Very cool. Such a neat group of animals.
They're really cool.
And it's wild just how widespread they become too. Have they been found on every continent?
Every continent,
including Australia. Because I was going through. I know they're from Antarctica, North America, Europe, Asia.
I guess if you. Oh shit. Yes. There is one mosasaur vertebra at least. I don't know I can't remember if he ever published it. Ernie Lundelius, who is a emeritus professor at the University of Texas at Austin. He's 97, I think. While I was still a grad student, up until he was about age 90, he was still coming into the lab having coffee with him. It was great. But he was in Australia looking at Pleistocene, looking at Ice Age cave deposits, looking for fossils there. Then he took a trip to the west coast of Australia at one point, and he found a mosasaur vertebra. So, yes, technically, I have no idea if that was ever published. I think it might have been, but yeah. So, and especially too, if you were to lump New Zealand in with Australia, Oceania, then definitely, because lots of mosasaurs from New Zealand.
Nice.
So yeah, pretty much every corner of the globe.
So where you're from, Alabama, also famous. Well, I don't know if it's famous, but there are a lot of mosasaur fossils from.
There are,
Alabama. Is it like in terms of state rankings? If you were to tally up all the mosasaur specimens from each U.S. state, Alabama's like second, right?
It would be up there
after Kansas.
After Kansas, I'd say Kansas, Alabama for sure. I mean, there's some very early mosasaur collections and other fossils from Alabama from the Field Museum back in the day.
Nice.
But I would say I'd put Alabama up there. Maybe right behind Kansas.
California is up there too. Which I was surprised.
California's pretty good. Yeah.
And lots of stuff from the Central Valley, Fresno County.
Yeah. So mosasaurs definitely a big deal in my home state. Even though our state fossil is the early whale,
and surprisingly mosasaur-like.
Very mosasaur-like. It's convergences. It's crazy.
Yeah.
So
well, cool. How are we doing on weather? Because I don't want to get us trapped by the storm coming in.
I'm wondering.
Look at the weather radar real quick.
I'll pull out my phone because I do have internet with you.
Yeah.
But there's one of the things, and I hinted at this yesterday, but just in case you weren't watching the chat, we are right on the edge of rain. The worst of it is to the east of us, but I think we'll be fine. We might not even y'all might not have to tear down tarps.
That'd be nice,
Yeah, we'll see what this is gonna look like, but it's sort of dissipating and getting worse to the east instead. But yeah, so one thing that's really great about mosasaurs and why I enjoy studying them is just how big of a sample size there is.
Right.
I mean, there are just literally thousands of mosasaur individuals in museum collections. KU, the Smithsonian, Yale Peabody, the American Museum of Natural History.
Yeah.
Lots and lots of mosasaurs.
Berkeley too. Yeah.
Berkeley,
Good
for
number
sure.
at Berkeley. Yeah.
So yeah, the you can really start to address questions of evolutionary questions, questions of variation and variability in within a species. Because I've got some interesting things, some ink spilled but not submitted into the literature yet, that I kind of started thinking about during my dissertation, where mosasaurs are actually, at least the group of mosasaurs I was working on, might be a really interesting model for understanding evolutionary dynamics more broadly.
Yeah, yeah.
More on that to come.
That's really cool. And this goes to something that I talk about on stream all the time, that we as paleontologists, we're interested in a lot of these different animals, not just because they're big and cool and toothy or whatever, but they can help us tell really interesting evolutionary stories. Like, we can gain important insights about the history of life on Earth, and mosasaurs are they're a really good example of that.
Yeah, and one reason why I study turtles and mosasaurs, mosasaurs, are only in the late Cretaceous, really.
Yeah.
And then maybe some early guys in the, we'll see. How far back they go. And then turtles also from the late Cretaceous. It's an interesting study system for me because we've talked about this, where paleontology is really, to me, the past is the key to the present and the future. And working in the late Cretaceous, it's a very different system where you have a hothouse climate.
Right.
And if you can better understand evolutionary dynamics and ecology in a hothouse climate, maybe we can better understand what the future of our planet might hold.
Right. With the climate changing right now, humans causing all this warming.
Yeah. I mean, there are definitely time periods where you can look at very rapid warming, like the end of the Paleocene, beginning of the Eocene. We call that the PETM, where temperature spikes really quickly. Yeah. But kind of having that other end member too, where you have animals originating and evolving in a hothouse climate. How different is that from things in an ice house world like we are, at least for now and today?
For the time being.
Yeah, so, I just think it's an interesting system. So
it definitely is.
That's what kind of drives my interest in the late Cretaceous.
Yeah.
Here in the on there, and I said, that's awesome. You can actually see it in a few museums. Let's see, BYU is where the actual fossil is. See the John Wesley Powell Museum
in Green River,
Green River, Utah.
Nice.
And they've got a skull over in Cedar Edge, Colorado, where it was found, kind of southeast of Grand Junction. But yeah, back in the 70s, BYU was digging in western Colorado. I think they were on a dig in the Morrison, digging up dinosaurs. And this guy finds a something on the hillside.
Hang on, I think we might choose. Okay, I think we're mostly back. It's a little jittery right now. Sometimes the satellite dish gets like that.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt.
No, you're good.
It's yeah.
But yeah, it was discovered in, I think, 75, and the fellow let his teacher know that, there's this thing that I found, these fossil bones. And teacher connected with the BYU folks somehow, and they came, checked it out, and dug up this specimen. And then Fast forward, it ends up being prepared at BYU and was the subject of a master's thesis. A student did their master's thesis on it, and then ultimately published it as a species of Pronathodon, which made sense. A lot of similarities between it and Pronathodon.
Yeah.
It was Pronathodon stottmani, which was honoring I think he was a preparator, Ken Statman at BYU.
Nice.
And so then, fast forward to my time at Texas when I was doing a dissertation. I was on a big long road trip doing field work and collections work from Austin all the way to Edmonton, Alberta, and hitting collections everywhere in between. And I knew about this specimen. I stopped in at BYU because I thought it might be relevant to my project. And Rod Sheets, who manages the collections there, said, "Yeah, we've actually prepared more bones from this mosasaur since it was originally described, and those might be important." One of the more important bones for mosasaurologists is the quadrate, which is a bone in the ear region of the animal. A lot of features on it that are potentially relevant to understand. And the quadrate was similar to Pronathodon, not quite though. It was kind of a perfect sort of intermediate between earlier Pronathodon. So I said, "Wow, this is really cool. Do you think any of your students are chomping at the bit to do this?" And Rod said, "No, go for it. Write it up." And so I had 2 days allotted to my time in Provo. I wrote a dissertation chapter in 2 days, or at least collected all the data I needed for it. And I ran it in one of our one of my phylogenetic analyses, and trying to figure out the pattern of the mosasaur family tree. And sure enough, it bounced around a bunch, depending on the statistical analysis I was doing.
Okay.
Sometimes it would be closely related to Pronathodon, but not within the group Pronathodon. But then it would bounce around to a couple other positions as well. So because of and the differences in the anatomy from Pronathodon, it seemed like a good reason to give it a different genus name, and so I went with Gnathomortis, which is kind of an abomination because it combines Greek and Latin.
That happens a lot.
I asked someone what they thought about it, and they said, "Yeah, it'll be fine. If somebody really hates it, that's up to your reviewers." And they let it go through, so it's fine. But yeah, this is one of the first.
What does the name mean?
So it means jaws of death. Gnathos and mortis, jaws of death.
Yeah.
The reason I did that is because mosasaurines, they get big, but this is one of the first members of that group of mosasaurs to get truly large, over a meter skull length. The skull length on that animal is over a little bit over 4 feet long.
Wow.
Yeah, based on the lower jaws.
Yeah.
And also it's got this big area on the lower jaw, this massive excavation as a muscle attachment. So mosasaurs are often, reconstructed as these fairly sleek things looking very Komodo dragon-like. But I really want to work with some paleo artists because Gnathomortis and Pronathodon specifically, they've got the same shelf for these large muscles that you see on collared lizards.
Oh.
So if you've ever seen a collared lizard, they've got these big, massive jowls.
Yeah.
We're reconstructing our Pronathodon and Gnathomortis incorrectly if we don't give them those big, massive jowls.
Interesting.
Because then they've got the corresponding shelf on the squamosal bone up here too. So they've got these massive muscles, which are in collared lizards and other things that have them, tied to a stronger bite force.
Right.
The question I always get, if it goes in the chat, no, I haven't calculated what that bite force is. But it really shows that that allows these animals to break through tougher prey items, whether they're turtles or, you know, the bones of another mosasaur, but also, you know, to consume larger prey items.
Right.
So not just tougher, but, you know, larger prey items. So, so yeah, you know, Nathomortis kind of, you know, shows that pattern. And, yeah, it was a fun one to work on. I published that back in 2020 during COVID.
Nice.
Came out, I think, well, maybe 2 or 3 weeks after I got this job, which was kind of fun.
That's awesome. Makes you look really good when you walk onto the job and
Yeah.
here's this exciting new animal that I've just published.
Yeah, I need to get a few more of those out soon.
Yeah. Nice. Well, I know the feeling.
So they're
too.
still impressed.
Yeah. Yeah. Nice. Cool. Well,
Are there any questions?
We did have a couple of questions, not
happy
about
to-
mosasaurs, but
Because it's only 2:35.
Okay,
I've got
yeah,
a few minutes.
yeah.
And I think we're good on weather.
yeah, it looks like it's maybe not going to hit us.
It fell apart.
Yeah,
So
awesome.
great. Yeah, I think we can
Yeah.
kind of chill out and.
Dr. Terminator asks, let's see, how are some plesiosaurs able to make it far inland with fresh water as overall ocean-going animals, like fluvionectes from Dinosaur Park?
Right.
Yeah.
You know, physiologically, you know, you've got to be, you know, adapted for that
Yeah.
to some extent, because if you're marine adapted, you've got salt glands.
Yeah.
But you know, you think about it today, and saltwater crocodiles are able to do it. Yeah, and you do kind of wonder, you know, because we got lucky with that animal up in Dinosaur Park where it was discovered. Positional environment, even though it's a river versus an ocean. But you do kind of wonder how doesn't seem to happen in marine turtle, with one exception that'll be coming soon. But it happens with plesiosaurs. Happens in at least one mosasaur. Blanking on the name right now. But
the
yeah,
one that was found in the Hell Creek, or a different one?
well, the one in the Hell Creek is that fluvial.
Right,
I reviewed that
Asteroid.
paper.
Oh,
I mean,
interesting. Okay.
it it's kind of on the edge. So
Yeah.
I do kind of wonder, especially given the taphonomy of the specimen, is it truly living in a river? I don't know.
Okay.
But you know, there are some very coastal, you know, facies of the Hell Creek, so it's possible.
Yeah.
You know, could have been, washed in by a hurricane. You know, going up the interior seaway.
Sure.
But you know, maybe it was. Who knows? I don't know. But yeah, no, there was one from Europe, and I'm blanking on what it's called. That was found in a fluvial deposit.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think there are probably more out there, and it definitely is a story of you know, kind of some plasticity in their physiology
Gotcha.
to be able to handle that.
Pretty cool. Yeah. Another question from the same viewer. What side of the mosasaur debate are you on? More closely related to monitor lizards or snakes?
I don't think we have enough data to say.
Interesting. Okay.
So get a lot of entertainment watching the two sides argue about it. I mean, yeah.
What would you like to help settle that
More,
controversy?
I would say more lizards from the early Cretaceous and
Okay.
early late Cretaceous.
Yeah.
That's our sweet spot. We need more coastal
Aptian
Albion into the earliest Cenomanian.
Okay.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
need more lizard fossils that are in probably in coastal environments, but you know, just filling out you know, the record of lizards, and I think that would help. And yeah, I mean that's always the answer with paleontology. We just need more fossils.
Yeah.
So
I
it's
say this all the time, yeah.
kind of a lame answer, but you know, that kind of targets, you know, where if I were gonna go to help answer this debate, I would start looking in Cenomanian to Aptian Albion, marine or near marine settings.
Yeah. So that also illustrates a point that I make all the time about paleontology, and that sometimes we fall into the trap of saying, oh, well, paleontology isn't really an experimental science. It's more of a historical science. And I think that's nonsense oftentimes, because you can test hypotheses like that.
Yes, you absolutely
You
can.
can run experiments by going out and looking for fossils in the field. And sometimes I get the impression that people who say that aren't really field people, you know. It's like,
Yeah.
they've never done this before. Maybe.
I mean, there are plenty of folks doing experiments in the lab related to paleontology as well.
For sure, yeah.
But yeah, no, it is an experimental science. We are testing hypotheses out here, and it all starts in the rocks.
Yeah.
In the field.
Is there a particular thing that you would love to find with regard to mosasaurs here in Utah, in the Mancos or Tropic Shale or something like that?
Yeah, so
what's your white whale?
More of those early ones.
Yeah.
So that's one of my motivations as soon as I got this job to chase the Tropic Shale, because it's aged right in the sweet spot, right around the Cenomanian Turonian boundary and into the Turonian. So about 94-ish million years ago. It's one of the places. Marine, they're already marine at that point,
right?
But it's still going to help you those marine. There are some other places up near Dino National Monument, the Maori Shale. That's another place I would look. It's a little bit older.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's another place I would potentially chase them. Other than that, I mean, gosh, the Mancos higher in section, younger in time. It's not very fossiliferous.
Yeah,
it's tough. I've hiked it many a days and found nothing. We do. One of my volunteers actually, when she was just out hiking around. This is an educator from Salt Lake City, Noreen Kittrick. She discovered a set of mosasaur jaws in a big concretion near Price, and it's mostly weathered out of this big concretion, but you can see molds of the teeth doing this. And so I want to kind of make an actual cast of those teeth within the molds, because it might give us an idea about what it is. My hunch is based on size and where it is in section. It could be Utah's first Tylosaurus. The Mancos does preserve some time where you start to see the diversification of my group of mosasaurs as well. So that would be another thing that would be great to chase. But man, it's just not as fossiliferous as like the Niobrara chalk in Kansas. But they're out there. Somebody's gonna find one. Probably hiking through the Mancos near Green River, and then phone it in. That would be great.
That's gonna be exciting. Yeah. And they've got the man for the job right there in Price, so
exactly. So it would be If you find it, please send it. Let me know. Let me know. Don't pick it up. Take a photo. Take GPS coordinates. Leave it there. I've got a permit. We'll get it.
Yeah, awesome. That's what I'm always telling Chat too. So how much more
I'll
time
name
you
it
got?
after you. Well, since we're good on weather, I'll go till 3.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
Or however long.
If you've got any other questions, Chad, I'm paying attention now, so type them in.
Yeah.
But maybe we could talk for a minute about marine reptiles.
Okay. Yeah.
And how there's not very many nowadays.
Yeah.
I mean, we're in a world that's dominated by ray fin fishes, cartilaginous fishes, and marine mammals. So once you have whales and things like that evolving, pinniped, seals, sea lions. Do you think there's just not as much room for marine reptiles anymore?
Yeah, I think, a lot of those niches that marine reptiles were filling back during the Mesozoic. You got marine mammals filling those niches now. Whether it's your big macro predators like sperm whales or
orcas.
Orcas, exactly. That's kind of what mosasaurs, ichthyosaurs were doing. Back at that during
toothy
that time.
predators,
and then even some of them were very much coastal. Probably hanging out near the shore. Your pinnipeds are kind of filling that niche today. I think much like a lot of our other megafauna on land, those niches are dominated now by mammals. It's the same story in the oceans.
Do you have, speaking of modern marine reptiles, have you got a personal favorite, one that you think is... I certainly do.
Yeah, well, yours is the leatherback. That's a really good question. Whenever anyone asks me what my favorite blank is, I'm like, man, that's something I don't think about as much now that I'm 37 and doing this. Gosh, I do. I mean, I like sea turtles. When I was in Austin during my PhD, my wife and I went down to South Padre Island for my birthday one year because it's in January and it's just cold most of the time, but Padre's usually warm. And they've got a sea turtle rescue there, and
cool.
So I really have a soft spot. The Ridley sea turtle, really big, but I like those Ridley turtles. There are several sea turtle, most sea turtle species I've never seen in the wild, so I'd love to see some.
I've only ever seen a green. And,
Yeah.
So far, we'll see after next week.
Yeah. I'm hoping you get out there and get some leatherbacks.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I mean, marine iguanas are kind of fascinating to me.
Yeah.
Because
They're almost on the threshold of between terrestriality and
well,
marine,
they're kind of doing the pinniped thing,
right?
Except they're eating veg, and you kind of wonder. That's something else that I think about with Mesozoic marine reptiles. Were there? Were they things like early Mosasauri?
Who's straddling the boundary between terrestriality and being marine?
Exactly.
Or
was anything? Was that filled by some weird dinosaur that we don't know?
Sure.
I mean, we've got sniffs of that with Spinosaurids now, but that's one thing I'm curious about. But marine iguanas I think are fascinating too.
Are really cool.
Yeah,
I've got a good collection of them at Berkeley actually, and I've looked at those before in the MVZ, and that's
skeletal, or do they also have some tissue?
They do have some. I didn't look at those. I was just looking at their teeth primarily.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
This is a project I did with Jim on Liaoningsaurus and potential algal grazing. Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Got to get that published. But with regard to marine reptiles, somebody in the chat was talking about, nowadays water tends to be colder than it was during the Mesozoic. But
that's a good point.
How relevant is that really to Mesozoic marine reptiles?
Yeah.
What's their metabolism like? How do we know? What are your thoughts on that?
There's actually some really good information in this book I was looking at. Looking at their bone biology, looking at inside their bone, their histology.
Yeah.
We can tell they were not built, I think this is the one, at least once they're fully adapted for a marine lifestyle, some of them very much, for lack of a better term, were warm-blooded. Physiologically maintaining a higher temperature than the surrounding water. A couple of ways you can do that. You can look at their bone histology, the internal structure of their bone. But one of the really cool you can look at this question too, is by looking at the isotopes, looking at the chemistry of most of the other marine reptiles, their bones and their teeth. And when you look at that, you can take let's say a mosasaur and a fish fossil from the same rock unit. Compare the chemistry, usually looking at oxygen. Oxygen 18 versus oxygen 16, two isotopes of oxygen. And your fish probably going to be at water temperature. The mosasaur, if it's at that water temperature, okay, maybe they're more ectothermic, cold-blooded. It turns out most of the time they have an elevated temperature. So the idea is that, some Mesozoic marine reptiles broadly seem to have been endothermic, being able to generate heat themselves, regulate their body temperature really is what they're doing. And then some were at the very least, kind of like leatherback turtles, being what we call inertial homeotherms. Big fancy words there. Basically, we're so big, our temperature is going to stay the same
Uh-huh.
throughout our life, no matter if we go to the Arctic or the Antarctic or anywhere in between.
Sure, yeah.
So yeah, you saw a little bit of that, both of that.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, that would kind of pose the question: would modern oceans support theoretically marine reptiles? And I mean, I think the answer is absolutely. I mean, we know it does, because we have them.
Yep.
But yeah, I think it's more competitive exclusion by mammals.
Why we haven't had big
more.
new groups of marine reptiles. There's just a few
Exactly.
cautious little invasions into the ocean by sea snakes, by saltwater crocs, by marine iguanas.
Yeah. And still, those are animals that are and potentially a model for looking at the origin nations.
Right.
What does that look like very early on in a marine
idea too, like we were talking about yesterday, with live birth versus laying eggs. Developed like live bearing of their young. Why did turtles never do that? Are they the odd one out? Where they don't even seem to be moving anywhere?
Yeah, so this was something I can't remember if it was Pat Holroyd or Chris Bell, my PhD advisor. I was having a conversation with about this. Turtles are also the only group, for the most part. We might find a different one, but broad groups of animals that never, at the very least, evolved gliding. Think about that.
Yeah, no.
And why is that though? Because they've got a shell.
Oh, because our other groups that did, just to set the stage, to to show that it is weird.
Mammals
Have both gliding in things like sugar gliders, flying squirrels, colugos.
evolving multiple times.
Yeah, and we've also got bats, which evolved powered flight. Reptiles, we've got gliding a bunch of times. We've got pterosaurs.
Gliding lizards.
Gliding lizards, yeah. Part of Squamata, the lizard group.
There are snakes that fall, but
they flatten out the rib
flatten
cage
out,
and they
glide.
Yeah.
There are frogs that do that.
Yeah.
So
It's like every major tetrapod group does this, except turtles.
I guess crocs don't, but
Well, birds are kind of
okay, well, yeah.
Archosaurs.
Archosaurs probably, but turtles don't. And so I think it's something tied to the shell.
Yeah.
So just like gliding, why can't turtles give live birth? I think it's because of the shell. And it could also just be sort of historical inertia where they've evolved this lifestyle of laying a bunch of eggs, burying them, walking off. 200 million years.
Right.
And they must chicken with it.
Because I don't think there are any modern turtle groups, correct me if I'm wrong, that have any sort of parental care after laying their eggs. Right.
That I can think of.
So they've all got precocial young who just get up and walk as soon as they hatch.
Yeah.
And even groups like Dermachelioids, leatherback turtles, even though they get rid of their bony carapace, at least partway, they still have all of the accoutrement associated with that. Like, they still have their shoulder blades and their pelvis inside of their ribs. Yeah.
So, and that's the one thing, so people think that turtles are weird because, that if you know anatomy, that they're weird because of their shells. Their ribs. Down from their vertebrae like ours do.
Yeah.
Well, ours, because we're vertical, it goes forward. But, if we're forward... and
just like in dinosaurs or other mammals, or what a tetrapod body plan like
exactly.
that.
And turtles are different, though, in that something triggers during development, a gene, because I think they have been able to experimentally remove that gene.
About this,
and it sends the ribs laterally instead, and then they go around the pelvis and the shoulder. So something that's totally different from every other group of vertebrate animals. So it may not be the shell, actually. It may be that ribs encircling all of the girdles and the squishy bits.
And that was just something that turtles evolved really early on, and now it's baked into their body plan. Like, there's no way around it.
Yeah,
no coming back from that.
And also, I kind of wonder, too, because of that, they have a very different way of breathing than most vertebrates. Costal muscles, so the muscles between our ribs. If you like ribs, if you like to, that's helping the animal breathe. And because turtles lock their ribs up in their shell, they don't have rib meat, so they're actually breathing by pushing their pelvis up. And into and all of their innards basically into their lungs, which are kind of on the top of just on the bottom surface of the shell.
So just above their plastron.
Yeah, well, so just below their carapace.
Under their carapace. Okay,
yeah.
gotcha. Yeah.
So they're kind of doing that to breathe,
which is,
with their hips.
We were talking about this the other night, which is why people who rehab turtles, people who try to rescue turtles that have been injured or cold struck or whatever, in order to do CPR on them, they'll pump their back legs like that.
Yep.
That's how you do CPR on a turtle. You can't give them chest compressions because they've got the plastron. Yeah. So that's how you do it, and it's interesting to think about. Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe it's also all of that is tied to the shell and the rib morphology, but it could be because of that breathing motion that I don't know. Yeah.
Really cool. We got another question here.
Cool.
Since I think we have a few minutes. Are there any ideas why mosasaurs went extinct at the end of the Cretaceous while other predators like crocs survived?
Yeah, I think it's a story of were a given group of animals able to, think about air breathing, air breathing organisms. Yeah. Were they able to basically hunker down in freshwater environments? I think. Why do mosasaurs go out and your big crocs don't? Yeah, it could have been the fact that most of them were.
That was a much harder hit than freshwater.
Yeah, absolutely, much harder hit.
So what's the mechanism there? Why did the oceans get hit much harder than freshwater ecosystems on land?
Well,
I know the answer. It's
a big it's kind of a big part of the change in the ocean chemistry for one thing, I really think the weird thing is that you have some aquatic animals in freshwater environments that do survive. Yeah. That's kind of the oddball thing to me. But there are other aspects of this too, like big sharks, big fish do fine. Now, granted, they're not air breathing, so they're not having to go up for air.
I thought a bunch of the big sharks died out at the end of the Cretaceous.
I
could be wrong. I don't.
Good point. I mean, all of the groups kind of survived through, and I could not tell you what the size curve of sharks looks like across the boundary. That would be a cool question. I'm gonna look that up, see if anyone's chased that. But the other question too, like just in the marine environment, ammonites go extinct, nautiloids don't.
Right. Yeah.
Why? I don't know. Do you have an idea?
Denver Fowler has an idea about it. Yeah.
What is that?
Ontogeny. So that as the ammonites are growing larger, they're moving through different ecological niches as they grow. Whereas nautiloids, they're actually born fairly large. It's almost like live birth in mammals.
Okay.
And they're just eating detritus like the adults do. And so you could have a few species that go extinct in a given clade, but the whole clade isn't going to get wiped out like you get with ammonites. Where they need 8 different niches in order to complete their life cycle. Yeah. Nautiloids only need 1.
Interesting.
This is in his Circle of Life talk from 2013 at SVP.
Oh,
it's cool. I don't think he's published it yet, but he needs to.
Cool.
Anyway, I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I've always heard that the oceans got hit harder than freshwater environments because you just have a total collapse of the food chain in the oceans, where if the sun gets blocked out, you lose the phytoplankton.
Yeah.
And then you lose the zooplankton. And the fishes, and then everything that eats them, all the way up until the biggest mosasaurs.
For sure. The thing is, I wonder how much it gets wiped out too, though.
Okay.
Because a pretty recent study. I was talking about this with somebody the other day. It wasn't on stream, so we'll talk about it again if it was you. I've got a colleague who was on a drilling project looking at the impact crater that is tied to the end Cretaceous extinction, and. They drilled the crater, the target rocks. They got in some cases melted, and then but it includes all the sediment afterwards. The plankton comes back quick.
Really?
Within maybe hundreds of years. Now, is that long enough to knock out? And it's the same thing we were talking about earlier. Statistically, did you get the first plankton in your rock core? Probably not. But in the actual rocks, in the target rocks, the plankton and the base of the food chain is back really quick.
Interesting. Well, and you say 100 years is quick. People at home are going to be like, 100 years?
Well, yeah. I mean, generationally, all right, everything's going to starve if it's really 100 years or a few hundred, couple thousand years. What is that amongst friends when you're a geologist?
Yeah.
But it comes back quick, and that's in the target rock itself, where
that's ground zero.
Where there was probably still hydrothermal activity. Mount Everest hits the planet, it's going to be a nasty place in that spot. But you'd imagine on the other side of the globe, maybe the plankton are doing just fine. Through that interval. So, that's what I would expect is that, you would have some, was it total collapse? I don't really buy that.
Interesting.
Because,
okay.
You've still got the fish, you've got the sharks making it through. Doing just fine. And they're not all eating detritus like, turtles that make it through in freshwater do. So, it's a complex story because you've also got sea turtles. I mean, the marine turtles that we have in the Cretaceous, some of them do align with modern sea turtles.
We've got colonioids, right?
In the family tree.
Although you do lose the protostegids, right? So
you lose the
in its skin,
you lose the big ones. And it's kind of a story. Is it the small stuff that survives?
Right.
I don't know. I think saying a total collapse would be a stretch. Was it a bad time?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I'll remember this. I'll make sure I don't repeat that again.
Well, no. I think it's a convention. I'm just... I want to say something controversial.
I like that. I like that a lot. Yeah.
So, and, it was a bad day. Dr. Tyler Leeson. Single worst day for multicellular life in Earth history. In Earth history. So, So it was a bad day. It was a bad many generations. But, can we truly say it was total collapse? I don't know.
Interesting.
I don't know. I'm not saying you're wrong. I don't know.
I appreciate the pushback a little bit.
I just want to take folks through the thought experience.
This is why we're interviewing experts here. Like, I don't know anything about this kind of thing. So I haven't studied the KPG that much until we started working the North Horn anyway. It was tough. Let's say this. It was enough of an ecological collapse, enough of a bottom-up collapse to knock out everything that it knocked out. So it was enough of one. I wouldn't say total, but it was enough of a collapse. For mosasaurs, plesiosaurs, ammonites to go extinct. Right.
But then everything that we see make it through, doing just fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. One more question you got?
Oh yeah, totally. Let's do
it. Let's see. So, Josh, your dissertation looked at mosasaur diversity and late Cretaceous marine, right?
In part.
Yeah. What is one finding from that work that you think most people saying that you wish more people knew about with regard to that work?
Hopefully not too much more because I haven't published it all. So one thing, that it's probably the next paper I'm going to publish, because I've, after your PhD, sometimes you got to leave your dissertation behind, not think about it for a little while because, it can be a scarring process. That wasn't the case, but, it just so happened, after my PhD, I got a job. COVID happens. I get a new job. start a field program. I just haven't gotten around to publishing those. So most everything that I did is buried. But one thing that I will tell you that will come out in the next paper I do, within that very diverse group, mosasaurines. So there's another animal that I'm going to name that. The Gnathomortis, and probably half the size, but also has that.
Interesting.
Is that this group that gets very diverse, the mosasaurines, they begin consuming larger prey before they reach large body size.
Huh.
Is there a tie to that? I don't know.
Interesting.
But yeah. So
when we say large size prey, what size are we talking?
So, if you use collared lizards as an example, I mean they can consume things that are just a little bit smaller than that.
Yeah.
So this mosasaur that I'm gonna that is written up, I just need to publish, is it's got about a meter long skull. I think based on some back of the envelope calculations I had, I think it would be maybe a 25-foot animal, something like that.
Still pretty big. That's still like orca size.
It's a big animal,
yeah.
But the later ones, later members of that group pushing 50, 55 feet, they get twice as big. But yeah, so I think they start consuming, big food. And then they start getting diverse and disparate, which is another thing I looked at, looking at their disparity through time. So how similar or how different they are.
Right.
And along with that diversity, disparity does increase, at least within that one group of relatively quick. Basically from as essentially one genus around, very by definition low disparity then. Within 3 or 4 million years being is very disparate, almost as much as they are at the very end of the Cretaceous. So that'll be something that'll come out in my next paper. So yeah.
Look forward to.
Yeah. So but a lot of the stuff I did is still buried in a dissertation at the University of Texas. But yeah, I think that'll be one thing I'm looking forward to sharing. Yeah, sure, I'm naming new species. Who cares? But, well, a lot of people care. But
that's not what interests you most.
Yeah, no, it's
evolutionary questions.
Yeah, it's the larger evolutionary dynamics. That these new fossils help us tell. So,
very cool.
That's what I'm looking forward to.
Yeah. What would you like to plug before we end this? Follow you on anything like that?
Follow the museum. We have Facebook, Instagram, Blue Sky. Just look up the Prehistoric Museum. Don't follow me on social media. It's just all sports and memes. All of my science goes to the museum's account. Facebook, Instagram, Blue Sky. Those are our three.
Nice.
And
Twitch as well. Well, we already have a Twitch shout out, I'm sure, there in the chat.
Yeah, for
sure.
Yeah, we got Twitch. Once our lab renovation is finished, Matt, who's be running the show when I leave here, he will be streaming live fossil prep from the lab Fridays 2 to 5 p.m. Mountain Time. That'll ramp back up again once the lab is not a construction zone. But I think we'll probably announce on social media. We might do kind of an update of what the lab is looking like.
Yeah, that'd be really cool.
Here in the coming weeks, especially after field season. But yeah, so check out the Prehistoric Museum. Social media is a good way to figure out to learn about the science that we're doing, the field work we're doing. Supporting the museum. Donations are a big way that we are able to run field work and other research. We're applying for grants, but sometimes those are never guaranteed, and they're few and far between.
Nowadays.
It's rough right now. Check that out. But then also, one of the things I really want to say, because, folks think, all right, we're out here on this dig. It's a nebulous, far-off thing. But, we've got friends out here, volunteers, who don't do this as a day job that come out and get to do this.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have that passion for paleontology, and if you want to be a part, reach out to me via email, and you can do this too. Essentially, I want to get as many people out into the field, involved with science as possible, because in a way, especially when you have someone who doesn't have a science background, they then become ambassadors.
Absolutely.
For our field.
Mm-hmm.
But also, it's just a lot of fun. Check us out. And if you're ever driving through Price, Utah, or if you want to make it a destination, come see the Prehistoric Museum. We think it's pretty good.
Awesome. Cool. Thanks, Josh.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah.
And thanks for, I know it's your last day here, so thanks for coming out and
Of course,
featuring our work.
No, it's been an honor, and I'm looking forward to doing more of this in the future if you'll have me again.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, this has been great.
Sweet.
Thanks, Josh.